Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real life working screenwriter. I am Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And we are Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter, of which this podcast is one of the things we do. So thank you for joining us here. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating, write a comment, tell us the coolest thing that's ever happened to you in a general meeting. But if you don't want to, and you'd rather just DM us with your questions and your topic suggestions, you definitely can at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram at ActTwoWriters. I am Story Thursday on the Instas.
And I'm Josh Hallman on the Instas.
Good morning.
Good morning. So you're in a hotel.
I'm running a writer's room that happens to be on the opposite side of where I live of Los Angeles. And because Los Angeles is so stupid, I have to be in a hotel in order to do this job. Because driving home for 2 hours every night makes no sense, basically.
What is the breakdown in time in a vehicle if you were to leave in the morning and then leave at night?
It's an hour and a half getting there and 2 hours-ish back.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I'm in a hotel.
How's your hotel?
It's okay. But soccer's happening. And a lot of it is happening in SoFi here in Los Angeles. And so my hotel has a ton of security. The police have blocked off all the streets. I don't know if diplomats are staying here. A soccer team is staying here. Certainly the Chargers were staying here at one point, apparently. So there's a lot of really tall men walking around every now and again who just come out of the elevator. You're like, oh, sports athlete of some kind. Other than that, it's all right. I have a view of some air conditioners right now, which is great.
Oh, nice. I love viewing air conditioners.
Yeah, it's the best spot.
I can't help but wonder if you see all these big people walking around and you just start going into script mode where you're like, oh man, that guy could kill that guy. If this happened, there's a security thing happening.
There's always a spark of what if he just started running, even if he's innocent, what would happen?
Yeah.
Or what if he just tackled that guy? Or the other day, a very good looking, very tall man walked out of the elevator right past a security guard and she was just checking him out. And so I was like, love story, unlikely love story between a superstar and a security guard at a hotel.
I was watching the World Cup yesterday. And someone had commented on how good-looking soccer players are and a lot of the players on the American team. And I was like, yeah, why is everyone so dashing?
When you make a lot of money, I feel like it's easier to look dashing, as we know from the Tom Brady story. Yeah.
Listen, he's the greatest quarterback ever. We can't talk about Tom Brady like this. All right, I got to tell you something.
Yeah, we have some things to talk about. I also have a couple things, so I think we need to include it in This Week in Writing because it's writing related.
Okay, let's go.
This Week in Writing.
Okay, Disclosure Day. This is not a spoiler. I went to go see Disclosure Day yesterday. We are recording this on a Saturday, so it was a nice little date night with my wife. We had plans. I told her not to eat because we were going to the iPic in Westwood. I had a whole night planned, and I even went kind of early. It was like a 5 o'clock-ish type movie, 4:45, and it was going to be like an early kind of dinner, and I just had plans. I had this whole thing, and I get so pumped. We go to the movie theater, we walk in, and the iPic has gone out of business, and they have been purchased by a company called The Cinemas, which I knew, but I kind of had forgotten a little bit. And I get in there and they say, oh, hey, just to give you a heads up, we don't serve food anymore. And I was like, okay. And then Nicole's like, oh, fuck. And I knew, because I basically said, don't eat. I was like, oh, yeah. Man, that's not good. All right, that's strike one. But maybe they have some popcorn. It's like, we're still seeing a 2.5-hour Steven Spielberg movie. Let's go. So then the theater itself, Tasha, bad mojo. It's as if another business came in and didn't care to do any upkeep, and like the former employees just kind of left this place. And what was once a beautiful iPic theater was now somewhat of a not well taken care of cinemas theater.
No, iPic is beautiful.
It was.
Oh no.
Rest in peace. I'm never going back. I got in and I was like, Nicole, this can't be our can't be our movie experience. I'm not seeing Disclosure Day like this. I don't trust the sound. I didn't like the people. There was just a bad mojo inside of the theater. So we freaking left. And now I'm going today at noon to go see Disclosure Day.
I think that was a really smart choice. I think there was no other choice, really. You had to do that.
Yeah.
And I applaud you.
Yeah. Opened up our night. Then we went to dinner.
Yeah. The iPic by me completely closed down. There's just no theater there anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was a beautiful, beautiful theater. You know what I just realized? Okay, so we went to the Netflix theater in the Palisades for your Tomb Raider premiere, which is no more.
Yeah, because it burnt down.
And then we went and saw the premiere of Red Sonja.
At the iPic in Pasadena.
Which is no more.
Yeah.
So
is it me?
If I'm connecting some dots here.
All right, fine. I'll never make you see anything I've ever made ever again.
You can't create anymore. You're done.
Oh, shit.
Anyway, so that's it. I had to talk about it. I was going to absolutely blow up you and Paul yesterday. I had the texts just ready to go in my head. And then I only fired one off out of complete restraint.
You did. And you just said, we'll talk about it tomorrow. I assume at that point you were you'd already been drinking your 5 margaritas in and halftime at the soccer game.
Go USA, 4-1, baby. All right, what's your This Week in Writing?
All right, mine are not as exciting as that, but I had a spec update this week, which I texted you about, because you're the only one who really cares.
Yeah.
So, but my spec, if you're following along, went out into the world a couple weeks ago now, and as I had mentioned, I was like, oh no, like no one spent the weekend reading it, being very excited and needing to call immediately on Monday morning to, fight over having it first. So that means that everyone must hate it. It turns out that's, well, not entirely true because I want to be fair to myself, but it's getting a lot of passes. And it's very heartbreaking to hear that it's getting a lot of passes. The feedback I've gotten from my manager, and this is always what's tough, it's because you want to learn.
Yeah.
You want to learn why your spec isn't hitting. And I think companies, people just try to be nice, or, they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And so they might say, oh, we got something like that. And I'd rather not hear that as a response. I'd rather hear, I didn't like the writing, or I don't think characters like this are interesting, or whatever their response is. So my manager has passed along that some people feel like they're not connecting to the material. So some people are being a little honest. They haven't been specific, or at least she hasn't conveyed any specificity. And then some people are like, the writing is fantastic, but we don't want to make this. And so I am getting a lot of meetings out of it. And that's always good, because I've definitely sent specs out and I've gotten no meetings from it, which means people do not like the writing, nor do they like the script. They like none of it. But this is the writing is so good, but we just don't like this movie, or we just don't want to make this kind of movie. Someone said that they had something like it. Another company is run by an actor, and there's no role for him really, or it would be a secondary role. And that's not interesting to them, right? So that's the spec update. And my manager is like, it'll land somewhere. It just might not land with our top 10, our first A-list here of producers.
This will never go away. When you send something out, like you were saying, you want everyone to just love it. And then you get the news that people are invested and interested and bidding on it. And it becomes this big thing, and life's good. But what you're saying is so common, and it's so hard, because that's the thing. It's people just come up with excuses and say, oh, I didn't connect for whatever reason. It does suck to hear that they already have things like that in development.
Yeah, because, sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Don't be nice. Tell me why.
That's how I feel. I deal with that. A lot of the scripts I write are much more commonplace, I think, in terms of action comedy. And so someone actually probably will have a script similar in my kind of like tone. So I've heard that more times than I care to even discuss. But I still feel confident about it.
Thank you. Yeah, we've only gotten like half responses from half the people. My other one is also not exciting. I had some pitches this week, like multiple ones, and as I mentioned, I'm in a writer's room. A lot's going on over here, and so I'm kind of unable to spend a ton of time the way I normally do on really perfecting a pitch, and it shows. So I've done like 4 pitches this week, and on completely different projects. And one, I was like, listen, I'm not going to have time to do a full pitch, so I'm only coming in with like very first initial casual conversation. And that's oftentimes how these will go. It's like the company will set up, hey, I just want you to meet the rights holders, or I just want you to meet the author or the producer who is working with us. And I guess my lesson here is like, don't fall into this trap. And because I have done this multiple times where they're just like, it's just an initial call. Please don't prepare a full pitch. We'll do a full pitch at another time. Come on in. And so I prepare things like themes that I think are really interesting, character kinds of arcs that I find very interesting, not specific characters, because that just takes more thinking to figure out who's my entry character into this and who's my antagonist. I don't immediately know those things usually. Usually I know like what's just interesting to me about it. Overall vibe, tone, stuff like that. And so that's what I came to this meeting with. And as the rights holder started asking me questions, it's like, oh, they're expecting a full pitch.
Oh.
Like, where's the comedy? Like, who's bringing the comedy? I'm like, I don't know which characters are bringing the comedy, but I can tell you where I think I will find comedy or levity. Who's your main character? I don't know who the main character is. But I would want them to be someone like this because I tend to like arcs that are like this. But yeah, they were starting to ask really specific questions, and then I got the call just like later that day or in the morning the next day that was like, yeah, they've moved on to someone else, and they did move on to someone else who had a very different take than I did. So like that certainly could be possible, but I also feel like this trap is often laid, I guess. I've lost multiple jobs where they're like, come in, it's casual. And then what will often happen is someone will do extra homework and they will come in with a full take. And the producer, rather than understanding that like, oh, this, Tasha came in with just ideas, she's going to do a full take. I'd like to wait to hear what she has to say. They hear a full take and they're like, oh shit, this person has it all figured out. We're going with them.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a reminder to just be over prepared for these initial calls, even if people say it's just a first meet and greet. It's often not. And if it is, then you've done extra work early and good for you. I think you've just done the extra credit, because I also had another pitch at the end of the week that was that exact same thing. I did not over prepare. I just came to them with questions, and that's exactly what it was supposed to be. So it's like 50-50 of
Sure.
what you're getting there. And I would prefer to not lose jobs and be sort of over prepared for those things.
Can I ask, when you're in that scenario, do you reiterate that the meeting was supposed to be more of a general meeting and just kind of a discussion? For instance, if they say to you, hey, is this character bringing, or which character brings the comedy, and what about this character? Do you find yourself saying, as mentioned, I haven't really jumped into the material. Or are you very nice about it?
I do try to say something similar to that. Like, yeah, this was really just me kind of bouncing ideas off of you to see what you're liking, and more of like a casual conversation. So I haven't fully thought through like what that key character might be, but this is probably what I would kind of lean towards. But I'd like to give it more thought.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I would word it. But that didn't make a difference.
I've done that where I've been in this scenario where I'm like, yeah, like as I said, I don't know. I haven't read it. Like, it's almost a frustrating conversation of like, why am I having this conversation if you're not listening to me? And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm not like a confrontational person. So like, that's not usually my default is usually like, I'm so sorry. It's like apologizing.
No, same.
But I think when I hear myself saying things like, I don't have that, I'd like to think more, it's really hard for me. Like, it is a valid answer for something. Even if I had fully thought through my pitch and they'd asked me a question that I didn't know the answer to, it's absolutely fair for you to say, you know what, I'm not sure, but like, let me think about that, because that's gonna take some time to sort of noodle through, but that's really interesting. I hate all of that because I feel like I'm making excuses, and you and I are both people who work very hard, and we don't like to make excuses. We don't like to seem like we haven't done the work. And so even just hearing myself say those things in the meeting earlier this week, I was like, "Ugh, I hate that I didn't have a full pitch here." But it's just, that's the way it is. There's a bandwidth thing. There are only so many hours in a day, and this is a week where it's like, okay, find forgiveness for the fact you weren't able to get everything done this week.
Yeah, you're doing some things.
I'm doing some things.
I have one last this week in writing. I got a call from a producer that I worked with that I've known for years. He was asking me about a script. He was like, "Hey, can you send me the latest draft of the script that we worked on in 2021?" And I was like, "Yeah." I asked what was going on, and to give some backstory, I had written this thing. We got the producer, had a director. At some point, it just all fell apart. The script just stopped just existing. I was like, all right. And they just kind of moved on. There's more to that story. But I ended up looking back at the script, and, we sent it back out and sent it to this company that was looking to develop something like it. I thought the script was so done that I didn't even remember it. Like, I forgot
Right.
I thought we just did an outline, and I read it. I was like, oh my God. And then it all came back to me.
That's funny. That's also a good reminder to do more than just outline ideas, to really finish scripts so that it's something tangible people can read and fall in love with and think about for a long time, because it can come back. Like, just having an idea that you've written, as you said, like in an outline form, that's not something that would come back for that person. That's not something they would say like, hey, I want to send this to someone. But a finished script, even if it's not perfect, that's something I can still send to someone, and you can see the concept and get excited by the concept.
Yeah. It's also a reminder that people you work with are also trying to grind and get things figured out, like other producers. So they never forget about your stuff either. I sometimes forget that. It's easy to get frustrated with material. Anyway.
Yeah. And to feel alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Today's topic is revisions. And this came up because a producer I'm working with asked me the other day, how do I like to revise? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, just revise. I was like, but like at what stage? Like, I don't understand the question. And then she proceeded to tell me different ways that other writers that she's worked with have revised scripts. And I was just like kind of flabbergasted by the different processes that she was mentioning, that I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to ask how you do revisions in different forms. So like, because a first draft that you like, your vomit draft that you sent to your writers group and you've gotten notes back, your revision process is going to be very different than if you're on set doing a producer's pass, or even if you're in a very late stage and you've gotten those last nitpicky notes from your manager or something. So we're going to kind of walk through the different stages of a script, and I want to know how we both revise in those cases.
I feel like you are one of the masters of revision. I have a feeling your revision process is going to be better. I couldn't think of a different word.
It's interesting you say that, because in trying to articulate it back to this producer who had asked me, I was like, I don't know. I just do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And also, like, I don't know if I have a process, quote unquote. I just do it. And I have to feel my way through, like, what does this script need? Okay, I'm going to do this version of rewriting. So this is also going to help me sort of figure out, how do I articulate what my process is?
Yeah, this is a good topic because it can be daunting to revise. We both know. Yes, it's a big thing.
This can be where a lot of people just stop.
Yeah, it's
right?
true.
'Cause it's so hard to do. And this is where I think the fun work actually begins. It's very difficult to put a first draft on paper. I was listening to an interview with Zach Kreger, who did Weapons. And did I send this to you? Did we repost this? Because I feel like this is something we should have, where he literally views his first draft as being written by a little elf. And like, he's just a little like chaos elf who's writing his vomit draft. And it takes all the pressure off of him having to write it. And then Zach comes in and he writes, like he revises, and he goes, and I find revising, of course, so much easier than writing a first draft. And there is something to that, of not feeling the pressure of your first draft having to be good and letting all of your skill come out during the revision.
Yeah, the Krager thing was so interesting because I have a difficult time kind of like having an out of body experience pretending like someone else is writing the script. Like that little what he said was, he imagines there's a little elf writing, and so just get it out. Just get it out. Like I wish I could do that. I actually am trying to do that, but I'm so heady that I can't stop getting in my own frickin' way and I just get held up on stuff. So, but yeah, the point of that whole thing is if you can just get it out, do it.
I want to be more like that because, to your point, like I do think revising is like a skill that I have. Okay, first draft revision. So you've written your first draft. Maybe it's a vomit draft, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's a vomit draft that you've polished, but you're sending it out for the very first time to probably your writers group, since that's always the first stop along the way. And you've gotten a bunch of notes back. How do you revise after that first draft?
This actually, to me, is one of the hardest parts, is revising the first draft. Yeah, I know it's where the fun begins, but because I think these are the biggest changes that you're probably going to make at this point. We just got notes from Writers Group. I have 6 pages of earth-shattering, soul-sucking, I thought I didn't ever have to rewrite again notes. I typically kind of take a step back and look at the biggest things, of course. And, let's say someone will say, I think you can lose a character, and it's like, okay, well, what ramifications does that have? Or you can turn these 2 characters into the same person. I basically then rewrite what I think are the biggest structural changes, and then I'll kind of lay out my plan of action in terms of, okay, if I'm gonna now tackle like the big things first, because that's gonna affect some of the little things. It might eliminate some of those smaller notes. That's how I kind of approach notes after a first draft.
That's so organized.
I mean, it sounds much more organized. It's much more scattered.
It's interesting you mentioned doing a plan of action, because I've talked to other writers before and they're specifically talking about having to do revisions for studios. And oftentimes studios will ask for a plan of revision. Like, okay, you've digested all the notes that we gave you. We want to know how you're going to, fix this script with the money we're giving you, basically. And so he's gotten kind of in a pattern of writing a document that is exactly what you're saying. It's like maybe an overview paragraph of like, these are the things that I want to address and change. And then a bullet pointed list of, we're going to go in and we're going to do this. And it's not like literally I'm going to do this character work within a scene, but it's generally, this is how I'm going to combine those 2 characters and what we think the result of that will be. And he kind of just like goes down the list of all his major changes. And that, I think, helps him wrap his mind around, what his approach is going to be. I don't do any of that. That's too hard. That's too much. That feels like extra work to me. I usually on a first draft, if I get notes back, and they're always going to be a lot, I take my previous draft and I set it on the left side of my computer. And I usually do it in a PDF specifically so that I'm not tempted to copy and paste whatever is in the left side original draft into my new final draft, but I'll open a new final draft on the right-hand side. So PDF of the old one on the left, my new completely clean final draft file on the right, and I will just start from the beginning, and I will just kind of rewrite what I have on the left side. And what it does is it helps me like really get back into the scene. So I'm really feeling the scene again. And it also feels like it's new and fresh. So I'm able to make changes as I write. And that is really helpful to me. However, if it is a total rehash, like you're talking about, like combining characters, and like maybe your structure is totally wrong, that's a different, like, I'm not going to go do that because I can't rewrite structure by copying back what I've already done. So if it's a structure thing, I'm going to recard everything. I'll probably get to the whiteboard or, get out my index cards and be like, okay, like what are the scenes that I love? Like, what are the scenes that are key that I don't care if Josh hates it. I'm going to keep this blacksmithing scene. It was really Dave who hated it, friend of the podcast.
I didn't hate the scene. I just felt like
it shouldn't be 2 pages.
It was a great scene.
I love it. It's still there. It's stage.
To me, what you're saying is awesome, but like I also need like a third thing to look at and be like, these are the change. Like this is my first scene. These are the changes I'm making, and this is why.
I've tried to do that, but it like clouds me. I think I will read whatever notes. I will read my notes, and then I will get rid of my notes and just live in the script. And what I've found about that is things from the notes that I actually don't like or that don't ring true or that I don't understand maybe don't make it to this new version. And it reminds me of how you talk about when you come up with a new idea, you deliberately don't write it down because if you remember it tomorrow, it's still a good idea. That's kind of how it feels with this is like if the note is good, I'm going to feel that it needs to be in the script as I go. I know that feels very like I don't know, like witchcraft in some way, but I will, like, I'll feel it. And then some notes don't make it. And it's like, oh, because those notes weren't the right notes for this.
You know, another thing I think to mention is at this point with the first draft, we've written outlines, and those outlines have been pressure tested as well. So when I'm talking about big structural changes, that's probably not going to happen because there's already kind of an outline that existed in this world.
I mean, certainly been there where it has.
Of course.
Yeah. Despite your best efforts.
But I know what you're saying. Sometimes you just feel it. You just live inside the script and you know what's going on. So
yeah. But again, yeah, total rehashes I will card out and just totally re-break to make sure it's all working again. And that can be really, really hard to do and make you want to quit if you've already written a draft and now you're back to carding it.
yeah.
But it is a necessary step sometimes, and that's okay. It's just, I think it's important to remember it's just part of the process.
Yeah. It can be fun to do that as well because you really do get back into it, especially if you take 2 weeks off or a week off to give yourself some space and then you get back in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fun is the right word. But
Fun was definitely the wrong word. Okay, what if you got notes, but it's a very general note? It's a vague note. It's like the note I got this week. I'm not invested in the character. All right, go rewrite it. What do you do?
I would message you and Dave first.
Honestly, same. Yeah.
Like, guys, here's my scenario. And then I would probably have little like good angel Tasha on my shoulder saying, you know, it's probably a thematic problem. And I'd think, okay, well, what's the theme? Yeah, if it's just a general thing, I try to unpack it and think of like how to make the character more specific. I don't like that note.
It's a terrible note. But yeah, I think if it's I'm not investing in your main character and I can't get any more out of them, then I would probably card out the scenes with my main character. And I would be like, okay, what do I want people to feel here? Do I want them to feel sympathy for him? Do I want them to be upset that he's making the wrong choice? Sad? Like, what are the things that I want them to feel? And then I'll re-look at the scene in the script, be like, is it achieving the thing that I want? Because oftentimes my scenes, as all of us do, like we need scenes to just connect, to just make a story function. And sometimes we haven't put those things in there, even though we thought we did, or they're in our head as if we did. So it can really help to isolate moments in a script in a different form than in the script and be like, oh, it's not functioning that way. There's nothing in here that is going to make someone sympathize with him. Okay, now I can do that work. So that can help if it's a very general note like that.
When there's general notes about not connecting with characters, I try to always add some specificity in scenes that the character does. Almost not a quirk, but definitely a trait of the character. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Because sometimes when I get that note, I'm like, what are you talking about?
This guy's awesome.
This is the greatest character ever. I'm writing Marty McFly. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a tough one. All right, what about a note that is a structural note? Like, your act 1 is not working. Go fix it. I don't have any other information for you, but I don't like it. It's not working.
Those are hard ones because it changes the entire script.
Yeah. I love Act 2 and Act 3. Well, if Act 1 changes, you're not going to get the same Act 2 and Act 3.
Yeah, and if Act 3 or 2 aren't really working, it's probably an Act 1 thing. So it all kind of comes back to Act One.
Yeah.
If things aren't working in Act One, I try to tighten things, and this is like the hardest note in the world, I think, when you get structural changes, because it really does have the ripple effect. But this is, for me, is like code red. You're going to the whiteboard and you're writing beat by beat by beat everything that's happening and why it's happening. If it's pointless, then you just got to take it out.
Yeah. I got this note on this spec that went out very late in the process, like we were supposed to have already sent it out into the world. And my manager was just really struggling with the Act 3. She was not investing in the character. It was an Act 3 problem because the way that he was wrapping up, he was amazing until like just past the midpoint. And then the way he was wrapped up was not satisfying. And so the more she was talking, I was like, I have to re-break this entire thing. And she goes, that's right. I don't know if you can imagine her voice, but she's like, that's right. I think you have to. I was like, God damn it. And so, yeah, I had to re-break this entire thing at the 11th hour, and it was just putting up cards. And in doing so, though, I was like, oh, this scene doesn't need to be there. This scene doesn't need to be there. That gives me so much extra time to do other things that I need to do. And then it was similar to what I was saying before. It's like you realize like, oh, like this scene needed to be here for plot reasons to make sure such and such person was just like in the same room observing the clue they needed to get to such and such, because we have to think about all of these things as we're writing, but it wasn't doing the emotional work, and this was the scene it really needed to be doing it. So you get to just see things in a much clearer way. So yeah, I think when it's a structural note, I fucking hate it, which is why I try to get that as tight as possible before getting into the draft. But yeah, unfortunately, if it's structural, I do also agree with you. You have to go back to cards.
Did you realize it was an Act 1 problem when she was like, hey, Act 3's, this moment's not landing? Did it relate back to Act 1?
Act 1 was really strong, and I think it was more just like nuance of Act 1 had to change if I changed Act 3, because for this specific note of I'm not investing in how it all wraps up, well, that means that where he starts wasn't the correct spot for where he ends. Like that arc is just like not tracking for me. So like generally the way that the character starts is like an unambitious, like kind of lazy guy who is the opposite person you would expect to want to save the world. And then by the end, he wants to save the world, and he's actually really good at it. And so I did have to do some like nuance, like just scene work, I think, with him in the opening to make sure he was at the right place to end that way. But most of the work was third act stuff in that particular case.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's unusual. I agree. I think if it's a third act problem, it's probably a first act problem. Okay, what if you get a note that's, I like it, I love it, but it's not fun enough, or something like that?
Tasha, the note that makes me want to die and just stop everything, it's related to this, but when someone says to me, this just isn't that funny, it breaks my soul, because, as we've talked about a million times, I always tend to lean into the action rather than the comedy. So it's like a 60% action, 40% comedy, when it should be like a 60% comedy, 40% action. Anyway, I digress. That comes into this just isn't that fun. Like I should be having more fun on this ride that we're having. And so in that case, I just go back into the script and just kind of say, okay, what could be more fun? Like, very well aware that it's not as fun as it probably should be, or there's not a funny moment or a quip or a person stumbling with a stick that they need to fight somebody off with, or whatever it may be, just to try to add some levity to the script and make it feel as though it's more fun.
Yeah.
It kills me, man.
It's the worst. It's like, well, then I'm not funny, and maybe I should just go kill myself. It's like the writer brain is not a fun place to be.
No, and you can't say, by the way, oh, the actors will make it funny or something like it. Just like,
which they will, but yeah. With something like that where it's like a pass, you need to just do a pass of something. It's not structural. It's not it's like you just need to do a pass. I think I maybe have a weird process, but my process is I, again, look at the PDF. I want to look at it the way this producer who gave me the note reads it, which is through a PDF or on my iPad, either of those. Um, and the reason why I don't want to open a final draft at this point is because as soon as I open a final draft, I feel like I'm a writer and I'm in it and like I'm fixing things. If I have a PDF, I'm just passively reading. And when I'm passively reading, thinking about, is this fun enough? As I read, I'm going to be like, oh shit, this can be funnier. Okay. And then I'll click over to my script and I'll be like, change. This is now funny. Okay, back to my PDF and continue to read. Just that separation really helps me get a perspective, and it's really helpful to just think about, is it fun enough as you read? And when you do a pass, whether is it fun enough, or can you make this character more sympathetic, or can you make this particular character a little funnier? Just like those things that just feel, or like make the action cooler. Anything that feels like just a pass that you have to do, that's how I handle it.
The worst is when you think something's fun and somebody else doesn't, and you get into this back and forth about what's fun or funny and what's not, and then it becomes like a pissing contest of who's right and who's wrong, and that's never a fun conversation to be in.
Again, this is how you and I are different, because if someone else thinks it's not, my reaction is to like, oh, I'm so dumb. They're so much smarter than me. They're so much funny. They're so much cooler than me. Of course they'd come up with a cooler action scene. Like, I just like get really down on myself that like I am not as good as I thought I was. I wish I was more like, fuck you, man, this is great.
No. Don't get me wrong. I'm very similar. I'm like, oh man, I've been in the scenario where I've firmly believed, I'm like, this works in my head. I'm like saying, and you're hearing someone tell you why it doesn't work, but then you hear their pitch and their pitch doesn't work to you. And so then you realize it's like, well,
that's tough.
We're not on the same page about this. And it's so subjective in this moment. It's a very tricky.
Yeah. Okay. Supervising or like revising someone else's script, which you've certainly had to do with me because we wrote a script together. So I would send you my pass on something, and then you would have to go in and do your pass on it. So like, how, in that case, I don't even know, like, how did you approach revising it when it was sort of my pass on something or my half of the script?
I was like, fuck, thank God these pages are written.
No notes. No, you definitely had notes.
No, listen, it's helpful when you know the person and you can openly talk with someone and say, hey, I kind of bumped on this because this and this. What if this happens instead? If I'm giving any revisions, I personally always feel like I need to have a solve to the revision, because I don't like getting notes, personally speaking, when someone doesn't have a solve on it, especially when it's a substantial thing, because I don't like getting notes when people don't have any morsel of a suggestion afterwards. What do you do? Are you now giving notes and you're like, just not working, just fucking change it?
No. So as a showrunner, you definitely, there's like different stages of revisions where a writer will turn in an outline or a writer will turn in their script, and you need to give them notes back. And I'm not talking, I guess I'm going to talk about like what's past that, because they'll do a pass on it. But at a certain point, I'm required to go like literally into their script and fix things to just make sure that the season all feels coherent and like and like it comes from the same voice, all of those things. And when I do that, I very much go into the script and become the writer, right? Like I'm not going to bring out my completely clean final draft. Theoretically, if I'm working with this person, they're already a good writer, so like the writing is strong. It's just not right in certain places. So I'm just going to go in and just literally get into the final draft and rewrite from there. It's often because it's quicker, and also it's just easier to rewrite the thing as a way for me to explain to you how it should be different than for me to sit here with you for 20 minutes to explain why this dialogue is not right. I'm just going to go write the dialogue, and you can then see why it's now working. And it's just a time issue at that point. because drafts have to be turned in and whatnot. And so that's just kind of become my process, is make sure I'm giving the other writer as much runway as I can to make those changes themselves. And then when it's time to go in, I'm just going to go right into the final draft.
Yeah. No, that's a whole other ball. In that case, it's like, we trust you. I trust you. Here's the script. Change it. We're good. I don't even want to know why changes are happening. In that scenario, 100%.
Yeah, when you're working with a partner, it's nice to have a partner who is like totally okay with that, because you guys trust each other to just go in and adjust that thing. And
Yeah.
great, it's better now. Thanks.
Yeah. Cool. And then it's so funny when you get precious and you're writing with someone or you're working on something, and then let's say you would change it, and then I wouldn't even notice. I'm like, oh, I guess that, I don't know. Who knows? It's probably better.
Yeah, because it's all blended at this point. We're just one brain.
Yeah.
The last one I would say is a very particular kind of rewriting is production rewrites. And those are particular because none of these things that we've talked about apply. Like there's no room to do any of these things. You're on set, or in my case, in animation, you have to get this thing animated, or you have an actor in the room in the moment. And the rewriting there is very, very solution oriented, as you were talking about before, where I can't go back into Act 1 and change something. Act 1 has already been drawn and animated or already been shot. And so the only sort of canvas I have to work with is what is in front of us right now in this moment. And I have to solve a problem that may be an Act 1 problem and maybe an Act 3 problem that we haven't gotten to yet. But this is what I have to work with right now. And what can I do to solve this problem here in a way that is not on the nose, that is true to character, is true to theme, that feels organic. And that is when you kind of put on a totally different hat and you're solution oriented. And sometimes you do have to come up with dialogue lines or the way a character moves through a scene in a way that you did not intend, in a way that maybe cuts out a lot of other sort of fat that you had hoped to have in the scene, to add maybe subtext or additional meaning and just like get to the point. And often I have found that it comes through things being confusing and realizing this is the scene you need to make it clear. So you do have to be a little bit more on the nose, but how do you be more on the nose without feeling like it's on the nose? It's shit like that. Again, it's just problem solving at that point rather than like, I need to find my flow. So that's just a totally different, and that's stressful.
Well, it's interesting because you bring up all these different ways to revise, and it is a reminder that you do kind of have to, as you have mentioned, the writer's tool belt or toolbox. You just have to have these different ways to do things, and there's different scenarios you're going to be put in where you're going to have to do X, Y, or Z. And it's all very fascinating when you really break it down like we just did.
It is really fascinating to see that because, yeah, every single process, which is why that producer's question threw me. It's like, at what stage are you talking about? I can't answer how do I revise something. And it's important to sort of see all these different ways laid out because as writers, we have to wear a lot of hats, just the way that scripts move, the way productions move, etc. And if you are the kind of writer who really slows down and has to recard everything when you rewrite, just know that that's not going to fly once you get further in and urgency becomes higher as you get more into production or you're taking out a spec or whatever the case is. So the more we as writers can be a little bit more, we can flow a little bit more with the process, I guess, and answer the need that is asked of us in these moments, the stronger our career will be because we can answer those calls. Yeah, it is interesting to lay it out like this. I think when we both thought, let's do a revision episode, we were like, man, we'll just like generally talk about revisions. But it's kind of interesting to break it down like this in different forms.
Are you going to send the producer this episode? Be like, here, this is how I do it.
This is how I revise.
Take that.
I'd like to have her on so she can tell us how all the other writers revise. I'm so curious.
Yeah. Do producers even care how people revise?
I love her because she does care.
Okay.
She's just fascinated by the writing process, and I love that about her.
I don't care. I just like, let me see the end. I don't care how you get there. Just do it right and get there.
Just get it there. Yeah. True producer. All right, I'm going to take us out with the quote of the day. How vain is it to sit down to write when you have not stood up to live? Henry David Thoreau. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram.
And I am Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.